This is Eli Perlman-Storch for Philly Soccer Page here with Greg Orlandini, my co-host on the KYW Philly Soccer Show and occasional Philly Soccer Page contributor. As we come to you after the Union eked out a 1-0 victory over the visiting Seattle Sounders. The story CJ Sapong, a fourth game since coming back on the goals, in the goals again. Just athletically completely dominant over Ockford and over Zach Scott, and he picks up another goal. And what else can you possibly ask for from a striker who very recently was out of the team, away from the team with the DUI, and he comes back and now he's the guy. So what do you make of this turnaround, Greg?
I think he's playing like a player that wants to be here, wants to be out there, wants to be in the goals. He doesn't always turn in a complete game, I find, but if he gets an opportunity, he's taking it right now. And there was some good interplay. That's why he put a Shane Williams out there, because he could put that quality of a ball into the box on a pretty consistent basis. And he put a very nice ball in for CJ, and CJ knew what to do with it.
Yeah, I think that's a good point about Sapong, because Sapong can jump out of the building. Mm-hmm. He can do everything athletically, but there were 5 or 6 times where he took a good chance and made it not a chance with a bad pass, a bad touch. But he only needs the one. Right. He's so athletic, and especially when, again, he's up against a third and fourth string center back. Seattle replaced their full back four for this match. Obviously, Alonso, Dempsey, or Martin. So 7 starters out, and Siggy Schmidt comes with a young, very experimental team. And there was some skill out there, but there was very little chemistry, and Seattle always looked like they were vulnerable.
Yeah, they were good at winning the ball and possessing the ball. They could move it. They didn't have anything really in the final third to finish it off. And the defense, as a thrown together defense, played solidly enough to keep the Union off the board for a while. But, again, it was just that one moment with Shannon and CJ. That's really all the Union needed.
And you talk about Shannon Williams, who comes back in for Ray Gaddis, and the dimension he provides just simply isn't there when you have a guy like Ray Gaddis on the pitch, because Williams can get up the field. Williams can hit those crosses in a way, they don't. Gaddis hasn't developed into that kind of fullback. He's a stay-at-home fullback. So with Fabinho in better form, he got beat tonight too many times and took too many chances, especially once the Union were up a goal. But with him on the left and Williams on the right, the chances are that they create are just so much greater than any other combination of the Union fullbacks.
No, so really, you could see them pushing forward really hard, the two of them, and Shannon just he gives you that quality of a ball that Wright doesn't give you, and he has that vision on the field offensively, and he's still, one of the better Union defenders.
Right, and you saw that as the game built on, as the Union didn't have the goal, continued to grow in confidence, though Seattle really sagged. They didn't have the sort of comfort between the players to hang in there, and it was always coming, but we've said that before about Union games. The goal was coming, but it didn't come. This time, Sapong just gets that yard of separation, and the ball's perfect. And you move on. It was critical to get this win after 5-1 in LA, come back across the country. Curtin goes with 10 of the same 11, and they go out and get the result that they needed to get. He said it in his press conference. You can only play the guys in front of you, and you have to take advantage of these little breaks that you get, which you do get in MLS, whether it's injuries or short rest or international duty.
Yeah, it wasn't a must-win, but it was a game you needed, and just the way Seattle was set up right now, and it takes this thing out a little bit of the NYCFC, the third game that was here. That was a game you needed. That was a game you should have had against a team you were better than, and you lose. So I'm not saying it evens it out, but you went out there, you got the win you needed.
Right. The Union, continue to have so many games in hand on teams. As we speak, I believe there are 6 in hand on Montreal, 5 in hand on Toronto, 3, I think, on Orlando. So being that you're ahead of everybody in terms of games played, you have to start getting all these points. Yeah. 3 points lost now continues to multiply as everybody else picks up those points behind you. So this is critical, and now you go into a match with a Montreal team that is very talented. They have the same issues in terms of travel and games played, but this Montreal team has been very good this year at getting results, and it'll be a very interesting match here at PPL Park on Saturday.
Well, you have to build. You have to take these opportunities and build on them. That's something you don't always do. I go back to it again, that loss against NYCFC at home. That's a loss that could take you out of the playoffs. So now they get this hard-fought win against an admittedly depleted Sounders team, But then you get Montreal at home that played against Toronto, a tough game, their derby match, their rival, a tough game. You get them in your house, you try to look to maybe rotate, get a couple other some fresh legs in there. And you try to take advantage of the situation, which the Union don't always do.
And the fresh legs is a problem because, again, we mentioned 10 out of 11 guys were the same from Saturday. And you look at who you have to bring on, and the options are limited. Jimmy McLaughlin didn't make the bench, and then you have a guy like Eric Ayuk who, Jim Curtin's almost cursing out on the sideline because he's just, yes, he's playing like a kid, but he's also playing like a very, very cocky, overly confident kid. You saw at least 4 or 5 turnovers where he's trying to do something fancy instead of doing the right thing. He's misreading the defenses, let Marco Papa walk straight through. And I think Pineda also, as he picks up the wrong man. And that's the kind of stuff that if you're going to get into a game that matters, you can't do that sort of stuff. And Curtin likes him because he's a raw talent. But if he's not going to play to his assignments, it's hard to replace a guy, in your lineup with someone who's not a known quantity. However, and the big however, is that we've reached a point, and I say this every week, that Andrew Wenger can't start anymore. It's unacceptable because even his defense was lacking today. There's too many times where, he'll get stuck in on a tackle, but then the ball comes back to him and he's walking over to it and he loses a 50-50. So for that lack of quality, and then the goals aren't coming. He played in a few decent balls today. He absolutely did. Yeah. But given the chance to challenge a young fullback, he really didn't get into the places you expect him to get into if he's going to score goals and be more of a contributor.
No, I mean, this, you talk about the replacement defense that Seattle had. This could have been a very big opportunity for Andrew Wenger to kind of come in and, work hard, get behind the defense, get, maybe pick up an assist, get the ball to guys in the box, or cut in and take something of his own. He's not taking those opportunities. He's not, you talk about Ayuk and not being there situationally, and Wenger's not there situationally a lot of times either, and it's killing you. This is a really thin team, unfortunately, and you talk about McLaughlin not making the bench after making the bench and making some late appearances. He hasn't edged up to make that breakthrough in the coach's eyes, to make that breakthrough to come in to play 60-70 minutes in the place of Andrew Wenger. Is that going to happen this season? Maybe, I don't know, but you want to see him progress more. But the options are thin. I mean, they had Denon Kadich on the bench who just came off loan.
Hasn't practiced with the team, just got back today.
Came off loan. He's sitting there in a uniform, and he was an option. He didn't make it into the game, but he was on the bench. So this is kind of where they're at right now, unfortunately.
And it is another problem because you do look at Lahoud being ways off, whatever that is, and you have some old legs in Brian Carroll, and he's played very well of late. And again, tonight was one of those more vintage Brian Carroll ones where you just didn't really talk about him. Right. Seattle wasn't really pushing into his areas, but you also didn't talk about him, which is a good sign. This is a lot of minutes to ask of him. I thought Chaco Maidana was very good at moving himself, getting into the midfield to help out. Because you didn't see as much of a consistent contribution from Zach Pfeffer. And, Pfeffer's touches are good. He moves to the right spaces. He crashes the box, unlike any other winger the Union really have right now. Bar Letou sometimes. But with Pfeffer, it's now about being a consistent contributor for 90 minutes because a good touch here, a good pass, that's nice, but that's not what this team needs. This team needs him, to be there with Nogueira, be there with Carroll, be there with Maidana, be on the ball, moving the ball all the time and getting into the box.
I think it's decision making a lot too with Pfeffer because you see him, he holds the ball that extra second where he'll beat a defender, get himself some space, and then just doesn't make that next decision. He doesn't, and it gives time for that next defender to kind of get on him and dispossess him or force him into a bad pass or a bad shot. If his decision making got that much quicker, I think you'd see a lot more out of him.
So as we wrap up, we have to mention the Maurice Edu penalty kick. After playing a very odd game in LA where he kind of just did whatever he wanted and really left his defense high and dry, he's the one who steps up, claims the penalty, and does a very weak sort of, I don't even know what to call that walk up, and then hits a softball that's pretty easily saved by Stefan Fry. And as a fan of a team, if you see your captain step up and take that, they better come in and finish that, because he's not the natural guy to take that penalty kick. You know, the natural guy with Letou out, who's your obvious choice, is Maidana or Nogueira. You know, those are the two guys who you look to take that kick. So if Edu's going to step up and take that, he better belt it. And he tried to be cute, and that swagger, that confidence that he kind of is it isn't working, and it doesn't look good right now, especially when it's the captain taking away what should have been a goal from a more natural shooter.
I think you said it. He's your captain. He's you go up there and you just got to bury it at that point. This is a game. You're coming off a terrible team performance, and not a great performance from him in LA. He needs, the team needs a real shot in the arm. You have that opportunity early on in the game to really go ahead and change the game. You got to take that, and we've seen that with this team where they don't take opportunities and it burns them later. Luckily, it didn't burn them tonight, but it very easily could have.
So as we wrap up here and we look forward to Montreal, 3 games in 8 days. We know this drill. Unfortunately, there's a West Coast trip mixed into this one. But the Union will be back here at PPL Park at 7 on Saturday night, take on Montreal Impact. CJ Sapong gets a chance to set the club record for consecutive goals scored in game after game after game. So we'll see if he can bring that up, his consecutive streak up to 5, and keep nudging the Union forward as they look to build on this victory. Thank you for watching and listening, and have a good night.